I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll call the Tuesday, August 18th meeting of the Common Council to order, please. Would the clerk read the roll?
Dan Olson.
Here.
Councillor Fennessy.
Here.
Councillor Bender.
Here.
Councillor Sweeney.
Here.
Councillor McDonald. Here. Councillor Garfield.
Here.
Councillor Finsland.
Here.
Councillor Herrick.
Here.
Councillor Dahlbeck. Dennis. Councillor Esther Dahlbeck.
Here.
Recognizing a quorum, we'll begin, and I'll ask for consideration of the minutes of the July 21st and the July 23rd council and special council meetings.
So moved.
For the motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 6 is the consent agenda.
Motion approved.
For the motion and multiple seconds to approve, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried.
Item 7.1, Finance Director Vito submitting an updated report of the general fund reserves.
What is the pleasure?
Second.
Heard the motion and second, discussion.
Well, if we've got a PowerPoint, let's see that.
No, I don't have a PowerPoint. I just have a brief update. We had done a review of this 2 years ago, back in 2013, and what we're talking about are the reserve level in our general fund. And so we wanted to make sure that it wasn't too low. We also want to make sure it's not too high. And pretty much our goal is that we want to have what's deemed an appropriate level of reserves, especially when we've got like the bond rating agencies are looking, that will score very high if it's at an appropriate level. And so what I did was I took the summary from a couple years ago and I updated it for all the different components that I think we need to have reserves for. And I think we're right on. I'm coming up with a figure of about 8.7 million would be very appropriate for us. And then at the close of last year, we were at just under 8.5 million. So we're really just looking for confirmation from the council that this is a good level to stay at.
Any questions? Councillor Fennessy?
I just want to commend you and the finance staff and everybody else for working so hard to keep these reserves where they are and also to keep the good credit rating, the AA. I think that's, in your briefing here, it says a lot about where we're going with that. So thank you.
I appreciate that, Councillor, and it's not just the finance department, but it's always the decisions we all make together about how, when we're adopting the budget, that we do balanced budgets and we don't dip into these reserves. And so it's teamwork. Thank you.
Councillor Herrick.
Yeah, Gene, just one quick question. The money that we got from FEMA, have we received that yet?
The FEMA, I think, is almost entirely received, and that is kind of a slow process. So from the flooding of 2012, I think we got the bulk of that money as recent as a few months ago.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried.
Item 7.2, ESD Director Roberts is recommending to purchase and install an online ammonia analyzer to monitor and control effluent ammonia concentrations for an amount not anticipated to exceed $37,085.
Motion approved.
For the motion and second to approve. I see no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
7.3, Fire Chief Panger is requesting council approval to formally accept the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response Grant in the amount of $436,125.
Motion approved.
For the motion and second, Chief, thank you so much for your hard work and your grant writing and expertise in that area. All in favor?
First, my red light is on here.
Your red light. Okay, let's see it. Let's hear it.
I just wanted to thank Chief Panger for the great job in getting this money for us. He's done a great job. He's a real asset to the city. Thanks, Steve.
Well, I appreciate all the support from the mayor and the council and allowing me to capture some of those grants. And luckily, we were successful at this one. So it's been a great thing for the department, great for morale, and it's really improved our operations as well and getting some of our things accomplished that we need to get accomplished. So I appreciate the support.
Thank you, Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
Item 7.4, Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Director Morgan is advising of the tree board's approval to remove a maple tree located on Weeks Avenue Boulevard at 1001 North 21st Street and requesting council agreement.
Motion approved.
You've heard the motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion is carried.
Parks, Recreation, Forestry Director Morgan is introducing Taylor Peterson of the Chamber, who will present a new event at Barker's Island scheduled for September 19th.
Mr. Taylor? Mary, do you want to make some opening comments? I mean Mr. Peterson, not Mr. Taylor.
Not a problem. Good evening, Mayor Hagan and members of the council. My name is Taylor Peterson. I work at the Chamber in Superior for Superior and Douglas County. And thank you for taking some brief moments here tonight to hear about an event we hope to bring in September. And I'm actually going to turn it over to Joe Staria with Head of the Lakes Management Group, and he's going to start out a presentation while I actually pass out a few maps for you all to look at.
Slideshow doesn't seem to want to go to the full screen, but I'm Joe Staria. I am the chairman of the board at Head Lakes Management Group that runs Amsoil Speedway. And ultimately, we're here today to request an approval on the green space area for parking in Barker's Island for our event, and really just to get your input and kind of show you what our idea is and get your input and see if you think it's something that can have a good economic impact on the city and something that's that we should be doing. First and foremost, we're going to start out our slideshow. I'm the co-president of Como Oil and Propane. Every single meeting we have at Como Oil and Propane, whether it's a board meeting, a employee meeting, any type of meeting, we start off with safety because safety is our number one priority, and that's also going to be the priority of this slideshow. But of course, this computer doesn't want to switch. So the keyboard's stuck. What's that?
You click on the number 2, will it go in the big?
No.
Slideshow.
Yeah, it won't, nothing will, it's like it'll move, but it won't click. Yeah, nothing will click though. It worked earlier. Yeah. Start with safety, Brian. Anyone can.
Yeah. My name is Brian Tabar. I'm the president of Twin City Powerboat Association. Oh, yes. One of the things that we wanted to talk quickly about is safety on the water. We have 3 rescue boats that will be in attendance. They will be equipped with American Powerboat Association certified rescue divers and personnel. So there will be 3 rescue boats that will be located on and off the course, and they are trained to do this each and every day. Along with that, the rescue boats are going to be equipped with Stokes baskets, a standard procedure, along with standard toolkits for assisting any rescue needs. Does anybody have any questions about on-the-water safety activities? Okay. Are you getting it okay?
Yeah, we got it now.
Thank you. So just a quick note on the partnership itself. Meeting about this event, original discussion about this event began back in December 2013. And the idea was approach the chamber, let's discuss this event, let's possibly bring it to town. I think the economic impact could be just phenomenal. We saw how small the Dragon Boat started, and now it's a signature event in our community. So I feel that a partnership with the chamber, Head of Lakes Management Group, who runs Amsoil Speedway, who knows racing, who is a member of our own community, in addition to Twin City Powerboat Association, who runs these types of races, is a great pairing. And I think it can only go, I think it can do a fantastic job for our community and hopefully have a pretty significant economic impact during the course of the event. So
an overview of our event is Friday night we'll be completely setting up during the day, Friday all day, completely setting up the course and the vendor setup, and then we're going to go and start setting up the pit area. The pit area is going to be right adjacent to the Barker's Island Hotel, Barker's Island and the actual boat landing there. We'll have a map in a second here. Saturday, we'll get into 11 a.m. There'll be boat testing. We call it hot laps, and at our racetrack, we call it hot laps. Basically, it's testing out the boats. And then at 12 to 5, we'll go racing. And at that point, 7 p.m., we're going to have music at the pavilion, have a get-together so all the drivers can come there. People in the community can come and meet the drivers, hang out with the drivers, and just have some fun that night. And then Sunday, we'll again start at 11 o'clock. Sunday will be Championship Sunday, so therefore it'll be a 12 to 5 racing again, and then we'll have an awards ceremony after the races. There's also an opportunity for Coast Guard, Sheriff's Department, fishing charters that will have an opportunity for anyone to park boats that they want to show off or do whatever with outside the racing surface, if you will, in the racing area. And then announcers can announce the Sheriff's Department's boats out there, and here's what it is, or whatever the case. Coast Guard can come with something, and we're going to have opportunity to for the different community boats to possibly do that. And then obviously the economic impact, being that it's a first-time event, we don't really know, but events like this that Brian has put on in different communities have the first year been 1,000 to 11,000 people, and we feel we'll be right in that area somewhere. It'll be a good economic impact. Brian's going to talk a little bit about the map.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the racing competition itself is oval racing, heat format. It's a circle course, 3/4 mile around. The start dock will be located in front of the trailway, and the actual race course itself will be out in front of the SS Meteor. As you can see on the projector, the spectator area is highlighted in pink. The boats will launch near the pit area, and there is a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit, no wake rule, for those boats to commute out to the race course. Does anybody have any questions about the map? Okay. Moving on.
We've got a couple questions.
Yes.
Councilor Bender?
Yes, actually, Joe and Brian, I have 3 questions. Do you have the Coast Guard permit?
We are working with the Coast Guard. We do not have the permit yet, but they are engaged.
Okay, good. Emergency evacuation plan?
It's in motion.
Okay.
Yep.
What about parking?
And that's the green space that we'll be asking at the end here for the approval to use the green space for parking, and we'll get to that at the end here and tell you what our plan is for parking.
Sounds like you're good to go so far.
Yep. The one thing I did forget to mention on my slide was it is free admission. By the way, we might have some VIP areas that we're going to charge and some parking charges, but ultimately to watch the races, we're going to have free admission, and it's be something that's free to the public.
My favorite price.
All right. So Twin City Powerboat Association, this is our 53rd year in existence. We have 6 classes of racing, everything from the kids, 12 and 13 years old and up, all the way to the pros running the Formula One style boats where they're running 135 mile an hour. It is worth noting that on the next slide, and we will just click. All right, so as you guys can see displayed, some of them are enclosed and then some of them are actually open style boats. As you can imagine, the enclosed boat like boat number 5 and 23, those are the Formula One professional drivers who will reach about 135, 140 mile an hour. So, are there any questions on the machine or the boat itself?
I have a question.
We got a couple questions.
Lastly, what we need. Oh, there is. Sorry.
Councilor Sweeney?
I have 2 questions. My first one is, you've had numbers of these events across the country?
Yes, throughout the state, yep.
Okay. So tell me the number one or two top problems you've encountered in all your endeavors. Assuming you have some, I'm not saying you do. But.
Yeah, probably the two most difficult things that are to solve for is raising capital for the event. Through partnership with Joe and Taylor with the Chamber of Commerce, they've been able to locate the funding to bring this in. The other is weather cooperation. So we are lucky because we have a very nice location here. We have 3 sides of protection for the waterway, so the blowout or cancellation risk is relatively low. Whereas other events where we have larger water, not so much protection, that has been historically a problem. We do race rain or shine. The exception to that is lightning. That would be a 45-minute delay, and then we would reevaluate if we could continue at that time.
And my next question, is there prize money for, you said professional, so I assume they're coming for prize money. So what kind of prize money are we talking about?
Yeah, so these racers are going to be coming to go after high points, championships. So this is a sanctioned race through the American Powerboat Association, and it goes towards larger championship points funds. Because this is a first-time event, we're trying to put this on with a little bit low overhead, and the goal is to grow it over a 3-year period of time to where we can offer a much larger purse. The payout itself is minimal for the event itself, but again, those points go collectively towards the series championship where there is payout.
President Fennessy?
Brian, in the map that was in our packet, differs a little bit from the map that was handed out. And in the packet, shows that there's a pleasure boat spectator area.
Yes.
But in the new map, it doesn't show that. So
Yes.
I was wondering, did you remove that for safety reasons?
No. In fact, that will still be the case. Spectator boats are welcome, encouraged, and we would love to have them. It's very common to have them. The map that you see displayed is what was submitted to our insurance company as part of our application.
Okay.
And it's the most current version of it.
Okay, so then my question, maybe you already answered this, but how do you control the spectator boats from getting too close?
So we actually have boats that police the area, for lack of better terms. So we have patrol boats that travel with the Twin City Powerboat Association. We have outside course markers that are yellow buoys, and we have our boats patrolling that.
Okay, so it'll be a safe barrier.
Correct.
Between the track and the spectators.
The barrier itself is the distance. It's 400 feet off the course. Yep, and then we have somebody handing out literature on the patrol boat, just educating folks from the public.
Great. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I have one question. Will we have police and fire and sheriff rescue out there? I mean, just...
I think the organizers are working with Chief Panger, Mayor, and I think Chief Alexander, at my recommendation, is not going to so much have security maybe as some members of the auxiliary assisting with traffic control, since it is the first year of the event. And then I think what we'll do is we will assess afterward for year 2 and 3.
I guess I misstated what I thought I was going to say. I'm talking about the dive team and different security in that regard.
Yeah, so we actually do have, our boats are equipped with certified divers, rescue divers. We will have on the water at all times three different divers equipped in those boats, located in each of the corners of the race, along with one outside of the course. Yep.
Then we have Gold Cross Ambulance is already secured for the whole event, so they'll be down there from 10:30 in the morning till the racing's done, just like at the Speedway. So what we need from the Common Council is approval tonight to use the green space area so that we can do our parking. We're going to contract with a local nonprofit organization to control that parking for us. They've done it for many events, and we're going to, with approval tonight, we're going to put that in place. And then, of course, the Superior Park and Recs department and Mary have been great, and she, talking about notifying the dock, the people that lease the docks, electric shed access, doing some press release and some some community notifications to the people that live in that area, like she does for many other events. And really, that's what we need. And we're going to be turning our permit once we get the approval on the parking. We'll have our permit into Mary by the end of the week. And other than that, we can answer any questions and look forward to a great event if it's something that you think we can do.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 7.6, Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Administrator Morgan is presenting an understory planting project designed to mitigate the impacts of emerald ash borer in the Superior Municipal Forest.
Councilors, I want to welcome to the podium tonight Erica Washburn, who is the manager of the Lake Superior National Estuarine Research Reserve. She's here this evening with her colleagues Gail Epping Overholt, who is her Coastal Training Program Manager, Program Coordinator, and also a gentleman from Michigan Tech University, Nicholas Bolton, who has helped in authoring the proposal that I sent to you in your packet. And so they'll make remarks, give an overview, and give you an opportunity for questions.
Right, thank you. Right, so I'm Erica Washburn. I'm the manager of the reserve, and Gail Epping Overholt to my left here is our new Coastal Training Program Coordinator. You all will be getting to know her over the next months as she starts to make appointments to learn about the city. We were approached by Nick Bolton, who's a PhD student at Michigan Tech University, through our research coordinator, Sean Schooler, at the reserve. Nick was looking for partnerships and a little bit of funding to get some research together about emerald ash borer and was particularly interested in the municipal forest. So in our role with Mary as our advisory board member from the city, we contacted Mary and put Mary together with Nick, and also approached Wisconsin DNR as also one of our core partners. Wisconsin DNR came up with some funding to help this happen, and we've navigated all of this institutionally with UW Superior and the reserve to have a nice proposal for you to consider tonight. So I'm going to turn this over to Nick, who will sketch out what this all means.
Thank you, Erica. Good evening. I'm happy to be here and talk to you guys about something that's super important to me, which is forest health. And as you guys know, we have in our backyard here in Superior 4,000 acres of nice Superior municipal forest. But we also have a lot of black ash in that forest, which is susceptible to emerald ash borer, which is something that devastates an ash population in 1 to 3 years after infestation. We already know right now that emerald ash borer is in Superior, but right now it has not infested the Superior municipal forest. So as I proposed to you in the outline that was given to you by Mary, we would like to underplant 3 other species that are suitable to the municipal forest along the Pokegama River in order to boost the resistance and resiliency of the forest. And that's what we're here to ask you for approval for. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councilor Bender.
Yes, I have a question. My question is a budgetary question. Looking on the last page, I believe, the last page of this, it shows the total budget as being $8,600.
Yes. And it's my understanding that that is covered by the Wisconsin DNR.
That's my favorite price, too. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Sweeney?
If I heard you correctly, you said you're planting 3 separate species?
Correct, yeah.
I don't remember reading, probably was in there. What are the 3 species?
We haven't defined those yet. We actually have a meeting set for tomorrow. Right now I'm leaning towards native species that are here. Often in these types of studies with global climate change, people move species north in order to have better adaptability for future climate projections. But right now in this area, the influence of global climate change is very minimal, primarily because we have a large iceberg to the north, which moderates our weather here. And so we're not going to have too many temperature influxes with Lake Superior being so close by. So I'm leaning towards more native species that are right here, seen already in the forest.
Are you talking hardwoods or softwoods?
Hardwoods. So we're trying to replace a hardwood, right? We're trying to replace ash trees. So 2 of them would be a hardwoods, and then I'm thinking right now the softwood would be a northern white cedar, but we're also open to tamarack as being another species that we could talk about. Tamarack doesn't like getting its feet too dry sometimes, and we're dealing with wet soils.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you for bringing this project to us, and I'd like to say it's really exciting to see this initiative in trying to protect a healthy forest for the city of Superior.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. As you guys know, I mentioned earlier, over 4,000. You are the third largest, in my understanding, municipal forest in the nation within a city. So this is a great opportunity to put Superior on the map as an individual organization and municipality that is pushing forward mitigating the impacts of emerald ash borer. In the past, we have seen attempts of cutting a border or a corridor around areas like Ann Arbor and Detroit, and that has failed. And this is something that I think would benefit the environment.
Thank you. Councilor Herrick.
Yeah, I just like the way you used the three-tiered planting type in your plans there. I think it's very valuable, especially because of the wetlands down there. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
What is the pleasure? Heard the motion and second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 7.7, Planning Director Cirque is requesting to waive the city's bid process and allow SCCU to purchase vacant land adjacent to their facility at 2817 Tower Avenue for $13,000.
Motion approved.
You've heard the motion in multiple seconds. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 7.8, Public Works Director Janigo is requesting to award the Fairlawn Mansion exterior painting and repairs project to Four Star Construction for $70,000 plus the following unit prices: $10 per linear foot replacement for shingle siding, $8 per linear foot for lap siding, and $25 per linear foot for beadboard soffit material.
You've heard the motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
7.9, Public Works Director Janigo is recommending to award the engineer services for Fairlawn Mansion Foundation project to Biller Dunwoody, architect, for $34,500.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Mayor, if I could
I'm sorry.
have the record reflect that I'm abstaining from the vote due to my employment at one of these firms.
Okay. Let the record show that Councilor Fennessy has abstained.
Item 7.
I'm sorry, Councilor Herrick.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's just one question on that particular price. Is that including observation work once if it's approved and they begin their construction?
Observation is going to be negotiated after that. It depends on what kind of a project they come back with. What are they going to find as far as the foundation, that type of stuff, what their recommendations are and what the plan looks like. Based on the scale of that, we're going to negotiate a price for the observation.
All right, thank you.
The motion has carried.
Item 7.10, Public Works Director Janigo is recommending approval of a 5-year extension to the existing fixed base operator agreement with Eugene Amorti, Hangar A1, increasing the rent to $350 a month.
Motion approved.
Motion and second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
8.1, Mayor Hagan is requesting the council approve a discretionary fund in the amount of $10,000 to be used to repair parking areas at civic and nonprofit organizations in the community.
Motion approved.
Councilor Fennessy.
Mayor, you and I have had email correspondence regarding this, and I just want to talk about this a little bit. I'm not totally. I support the idea, the reasoning for it, but I don't support the way it's being presented for a couple of reasons, and I just want to voice my concern about this. I think nonprofit is a very loose term, and I know you listed some of the civic organizations that give back to the community, and I can understand that, but I think you'll have every church applying. You'll have, YMCA, assisted living, challenge center, vocation center. You've got a lot of nonprofits that could be applying for this $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, without real strict criteria, I just have a hard time going along with this, only because it is being used for non-public areas, even though the public do use some of the nonprofits, but it's not on a general purpose. I have a little hard time taking general road maintenance money and putting towards the nonprofits. And not that we're trying to bail them out, but I personally don't feel that the city should be in the business of assisting areas like this. Again, I think it's got merit, but I have a concern about how is it going to be. What's the criteria? You and I have talked. Is the squeaky wheel going to get the money? and $10,000 is only for material, but then we're going to use city staff doing these projects. And to me, taking the city staff off of our public roads for improvement and utilizing them elsewhere, I don't know. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me just try to explain a little bit the reason for this request. Like many of us, most of us, all of us, we periodically attend wedding receptions, functions at the civic and fraternal organizations, the nonprofits, and so forth. And I'm there a lot in different areas. And one thing that's always struck me is and I've talked to the different organizations about this, the inability for them to maintain their, shall I say, parking areas, even with major holes that need to be patched. And I've witnessed, we've all witnessed, I'm sure, elderly falling, youth falling, people having other types of issues with regard to mobility, needing a cane, a walker, what have you. And not unlike the city or anybody else, they too are having difficulty in financing different activities, if you will as the maintenance of the structures and the parking areas that they have. It's a tough time. And we always say it's a tough time, but it's a tough time, especially for nonprofits and the civic organizations, because memberships are dropping, even at churches. I hadn't planned on the churches, but memberships are dropping, people are doing other things and so forth. So it doesn't take the problem away when they have major events, wedding receptions for funerals and so forth, and they have, I would call, dangerous situations in their parking lot when you have a couple hundred people or more. So that's the reason for the request. It's not anything else other than the fact that I hear constantly from these organizations that we just don't have the money to fill our own potholes. So that's the reason.
yeah. Oh, so shoot me off. But anyways,
You did it to yourself.
Yeah. Oh, none of them are working.
Mine
Oh,
is on.
no,
Too many
on. I have turned mine on.
Okay, yeah. And, I don't want to debate this on the floor, but I just still think that we've got a lot of challenges within our city. Our roads, our sidewalks, our, handicap ramps, the whole thing, the public access points that we should be focusing on also. So I just hate to see this start evolving without much criteria and spending get out of hand and starting to money being taken out of the pot that we should be putting back in for general road and sidewalk improvements. But, okay, I'll leave it at that.
Councilor, I do not have a problem with having it reviewed more thoroughly, if you will. But in perspective, $10,000 is a little more than what it costs to put an overlay on one block, a residential block. So in the bigger picture, it's about a block of asphalt for this particular amount of money. But I'm not opposed to having it further reviewed. Councilor Dahlbeck?
Well, I was just going to say, don't they charge an enormous fee to rent for weddings and funerals? I had 6 daughters. I know we didn't get any rentals free. So, I mean, I know they're making money there, so.
Generally, it's minimal, actually.
Pardon?
The ones I've seen, it's pretty minimal. $100, $200.
That's if you're a member. But if you're not a member,
Right.
400 is nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Councilor Sweeney?
I'm opposed to it on supporting a nonprofit with taxpayer money. I realize they're hurting. I'm sure they are, but there are many other organizations that are hurting it for profit, and so to support them, I don't have any details, and perhaps if I had some details, I may feel differently, but I don't think so. I would be against this. Thank you.
Councilor McDonald?
Thank you. I also have Tom's thoughts in mind, too. I think it's a wonderful idea, but we're opening a can of worms. How are we going to have the criteria to pick and choose who gets it? I mean, if we come up with a better plan, it would probably be okay, but at this point, I oppose it, too.
Councilor Bender?
Thank you. And I'm not opposed to it. In fact, I'm in favor of it. But I believe one thing that the mayor brought up is a good one, and that's criteria for review. I know I have sent numerous emails on behalf of CASDA about one very large hole in their parking lot, and I was prepared to send one to the DNR asking them to stock that one hole with it, and that's being facetious, but that one has needed attention for a long time. And Todd, could you give off the top of your head if it's a 5-foot circle, 3 feet deep, or 3 inches deep?
Swimming pool.
Material-wise, a ton and a half, $50 a ton, $75 in material.
Okay, so $50 to $75 plus whatever the labor is, and if they're out with a hot patch and they have so much left over at the end of a day?
Yeah, I mean, they run about 4 tons on the truck, that they put out one shovel at a time per day.
Right.
That's what they'll hold. So, I understand your point completely about, it doesn't take much. But my fear in my position has been sending city personnel and equipment and materials onto private property, non-public areas to do those repairs. So that's kind of, I think, where this stemmed from, is trying to figure out an avenue to do that.
Well, absolutely, and of course I received an email that said almost the exact same thing from Chris earlier this week or last week, and I understand all of those too. But like the mayor said, these are, when they're saying nonprofits, they're really nonprofits, and they don't have enough money in their budget to be able to do these small type things.
Sensing the concern, I pull it from the agenda. I'll drop it. Let's move on, please.
Item 8.2, Mayor Hagan is recommending to receive and file the proposal from SKB Environmental to purchase Moccasin landfill and to retain ownership and operation of the landfill until the remaining capacity is used up.
What is the pleasure?
Entertain a motion to receive and file.
Is there a second? Motion and second to receive and file. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
Item 8.3, Mayor Hagan is recommending to retain city collection services and implement a solid waste and disposal fee of $9.75 per month per household and small commercial premise beginning January 1, 2016. And there's also a communication from Dave Yankee. This item requires no action, and we'll be discussing it under 11.3 ordinances.
So we'll move on.
Item 10.1 is the resolution introduced by the Planning Department setting a public hearing to September 15th, 6:30 p.m. in the Government Center boardroom to rezone lots in the vicinity of John Avenue and North 13th Street from R2 apartment residential to C4 Central Business Commercial District.
What is the pleasure?
Motion approved.
For the motion and second to approve. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to call a point of order, please.
Yes.
On the 8.3, if there are more than one discussion to this, and the possibility of a different decision moving towards the ordinance, shouldn't we be discussing it in 8.3?
Go ahead.
Well, 8.3 and 11.3 are so interwoven with one another. I think it's impossible to have the discussion of one without also covering the other. So I think we're inviting the conversation and the debate under 11.3 just to streamline the meeting. I mean, whatever you would accomplish under 8.3, you could certainly address through 11.3. Does that make any sense?
Thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye. We're looking at 10.1. There's a motion. I'm sorry, 11.1. There's a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
It's just 10.1.
Yeah.
10.1.
Sorry.
So motion carried on that one?
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
11.1 is an ordinance introduced by the Public Works Committee amending the traffic code, Section 2, no parking between signs, adding no parking here to corner on Banks Avenue, east side, approximately 100 feet south of the center line of North 16th Street from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Heard a motion in multiple seconds. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
11.2 is an ordinance introduced by the Public Works Department, amending City Code Chapter 112, the traffic code, by adding 1311 John Avenue, number 2, both sides.
Heard a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
11.3 is an ordinance of the City of Superior establishing a solid waste and disposal fee of $9.75 per month per residential and small commercial premise beginning January 1st, 2016.
We'll enter. It's a motion and second to approve. We'll enter into discussion, and with that, we'd like
My red light's on, Bruce.
Your red light. Okay, go for it, Counselor.
As we all know, none of us like to see fees, or additional fees or new fees, but this one is definitely needed. Right now, we're able to control our costs of our landfill. If in fact we end up having to sell this, we have uncontrolled costs, the private sector. Plus, right now, we have local city employees that are working. They spend their money in Superior. It goes to a large private hauler. The profits are going to be leaving the city. All these fees need to be, or people in the city need to pay these fees on an equal basis, not change depending on how, whether on Social Security or whatever. We all need to pay the same fees. We cannot maintain an enterprise fund with a negative budget balance, which is what's going to happen unless we are able to get this fee. Or if it was at $7.50 per month rather than $9.75. The council has various responsibilities, including the overseeing of police, fire, public works, sewage, and support staff. This also includes the overseeing of enterprise funds, including the landfill. Part of this responsibility is to ensure adequate funding for its operation. Shortages in this fund have occurred when the DNR has imposed a $14 per ton for us to dump our own garbage in our own dump. Because of this, we need to have the $9.75 per month to pay our costs and set a reserve fund, which is common public accounting procedure. The rest of our funds that we have in the city all maintain a reserve fund. Failure to vote for the $9.75 will cause us to either sell the landfill or have the private sector take it over, which will increase those fees between $40 and $60 per month. The other alternative would be to raid the other department budgets to make up the difference, which would cost us employee cuts across the board. We all represent about 2,700 people in each district. They depend on us to make the right decisions and provide them with all the necessary services at the cheapest cost. $9.75 as compared to $40 to $60 per month. Plus, we're supporting our local unions. This is a no-brainer decision. We need to invoke our $9.75 fee. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get into the discussion, I'd like to do the presentation and the recommendation and the history behind it. I'm sorry. I'd like to do the presentation and the recommendation and the history behind it. I will begin, and I'll turn it over to Director Vito. This is not a new discussion that we have before us. This is a discussion that's been going on for quite some time, and the landfill has been of discussion long before I arrived here. But the issue is it's compounded itself to the point where we believe that further subsidies from the general fund will only take everything down. Right now, the landfill is about $6.3 million, including collections, and it's going to overtake the police department within 1 year, maybe 2 years, and the police department budget in every city is the highest budget in any municipality, and that's about $6.5 million. So if the trajectory that we're on is going to lead us to further reductions in core services. Core services are defined by the three major services: police, fire, and public works. Core services will be reduced if we stay on the trajectory that we're on, or trajectory, where we're subsidizing landfill out of general funds. We cannot do that any longer without making draconian decisions about what will the service level be for the major core functions and other functions in the city. This is nobody's fault, period. The landfill operates perfectly. The collection service is probably one of the most appreciated we have. It is cost efficient. We have 5 drivers, 5 trucks. We have 3 people at the landfill. Very, very efficient, very well staffed, and very expertisely run. The problem is this. In the Clean Water and Air Act of 1976 was amended in 1993 by the federal government. In that amendment, it included landfills. Prior to that, it did not. The Clean Water Act requires that all landfills in America act the same way, whether they're a postage-sized stamp landfill or they're a mega landfill like we have in Sorona, Wisconsin. The issue here is the cost of the landfills per se. You're going to be shocked by this, and this number is not new to you probably. That Clean Water Act Amendment in 93 put thousands, tens of thousands of landfills out of business because they couldn't compete. They were small community landfills. They couldn't compete with the cost of permitting, construction, capping, the reporting, the monitoring, and so forth. To bring that back home, we have a very small landfill site. It looks big to us, but it certainly isn't. Because of the Clean Water Act and the regulations and requirements that are required in the landfill operation and construction itself, we have gone from the old days of landfills, which is good. It's that they're modern and they're required to be what they are. But last year, that landfill out there, that cell, the current cell, was about $8 million to construct. To get a permit to construct a cell, it's about $2 million. And then there's about, if we go to construct another cell, it's going to be about $500,000 in wetland mitigation. So just to file a permit is about $2.5 to $3 million, and there's no guarantee you're going to get the permit. So here we are with the latest cell, it's a 10-year cell, maybe, if it continues with the tonnage, at $8 million. We are capping the last cell right now for about $2.5 million. Am I correct, Todd? And once it's capped, it doesn't go away. The municipality, the owner of the landfill, whether it's public or private, has an incumbent responsibility of monitoring the landfill for 40 years at the cost of averaging $150,000 a year just to monitor it for the activity underneath, the leachate, and so forth. Each day, that landfill has to be covered with proper material so prevent it from moving and so forth. The bottom line is we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Gene, we've got about $11 million of debt out there right now. Is it 11 million? 8 million? Oh, I'm sorry. That's good news. 8 million. So the issue here is, in my opinion, the expert's opinion, the consultant's opinion, we cannot operate that landfill by robbing from the general fund at the expense of other core services any longer. The general fund is going to have its own struggles because we've been under a levy freeze since 2002, 5, that's close. We have lost other streams of revenue. We are under a levy freeze, which does not allow us to raise the levy unless we issue debt or there's equalized value growth. Shared revenues have been frozen. Had they not, just with the normal CPI, we'd be fine. The DNR, last year we paid them $1.7 million for the privilege of putting garbage in our own landfill. They charge us $13 a ton. When they started with the landfill tipping fee charges back in early 2002 or 3 or 4, it was $1.50 a ton. It is now $13 a ton. We are hearing whining from the DNR that their environmental fund doesn't have enough money. And where does that environmental receipt fund come from? The tipping fees they charge across Wisconsin, whether it's a publicly owned or privately owned landfill. There's no guarantee that if they raised it $1 more, that gives us a greater deficit at the end of each year. If they raise it $2, we have no control over these. That's why I say it's literally nobody's fault. There's no control. The local government has no control over the landfill, how they're operated in regard to the regulations and the engineering requirements that are incumbent upon us by others outside of our purview. It can't go on. It simply cannot go on without affecting the other services that we are enjoying. Police department, fire, park and rec, you name it. The more you take out of the general fund when you're not late raising the levy and expenses go up, gasoline, electricity, everything goes up for the city like it does for everybody else. It just is impossible, and we've studied this thing inside out 6 ways from Sunday with the experts in the field. And we haven't had anybody else bring up a solution other than let's pretend it's not happening. We can no longer pretend it's not happening. So with that introduction, I'd like to turn it over to Director
Mayor,
Vito.
point
Yes,
of
sir.
order, please. I would like to make a motion to amend the recommendation to retain city collection and implement a solid waste user fee from $9.75 to $7.75 per month per household and small commercial premises beginning January 1st, 2016.
Second it.
Okay, now let us do the presentation. We've had this discussion and I appreciate it, the concern. We want to show you why that won't work.
Thank you, Mayor Hagan, and good evening, everyone. There's a few of us that will be kind of tag teaming on the presentation tonight. We have myself, I'm Jean Vito, the Finance Director for the city. Also have to my right is the Assistant Director, Chris Bronson, and new Public Works Director, Todd Janigo. So you want to start off, Todd, and then I'll follow you?
Yeah, just briefly. Some have said I've had the misfortune of starting as the Public Works Director in the middle of this, and having gone through it, been involved since late March. We have a fantastic team of people that have, like I said, Dr. Bob and Dave Yankee from Lidos and New Gen. We've looked at this 6 ways till Sunday, like you said, and there's really not. Sorry, and there's really not a lot more there. I don't know. You want to go through that? Active?
Yep, I can start and then we'll catch you in a little bit. Okay. All right. As Todd mentioned, and before I get started with the presentation, we've had a lot of people that have been helping us get to where we are tonight as far as the recommendation that we have for the council. And two of the people that have been absolutely instrumental in helping us are our consultants. The first is Dave Yankee from New Gen Solutions. And then we also have Dr. Bob Larson. And both of these guys are really fantastic gentlemen, very, very well versed in landfills. And Dr. Bob Larson is, I think he's a Superior native. Both of these gentlemen live in Texas right now, but Dr. Bob was here a couple years ago, and I think he was very well received by the council with all of his knowledge. And one thing I also want to say about him is that every hour that he has worked on this has been gratis. He has not asked for any compensation for this, and he's put many, many, many hours into helping us out. He's got over 40 years of experience dealing with landfills all across the United States. So between these two gentlemen, they've just been extremely helpful. Obviously, we've had the mayor involved and many members of city administration. We've been we've been talking about the landfill. It was a couple years ago that we were starting the public presentations at the landfill. And at that time, we were looking at a $20 fee, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit later. We've also had an internal review committee was established to look through the 2 requests for proposals that we sought in April of this year. And we have a couple counselors that sat on that committee, Counselors Fennessy and Sweeney. And we had, I was on the committee, Public Works Director Janigo, and I will forget, environmental scientist. I think that's your title, Darian. There she is. But we had a good team of people looking at the results of the RFPs and then comparing them to every option that we have to bring forward to the council. Chris Bronson and I would often run the financial scenarios based on any number of possible situations. And another gentleman that I would like to thank is our internal auditor, Tom Anderson, because he would go off on his own and do his own analysis, separate from what Chris and I were working on. And then we'd get together and we'd kind of compare what we were thinking, and what gave me a high level of comfort was that we kept coming back to the same point, all of us. We also had finance committee meetings over the last at least 2 years. This has been on the agenda off and on. And so the point I want to make is that we've had a lot of people working on this issue for years, and we're coming to the conclusion that $975 is the right number, and that retaining the service and not privatizing is the right direction to go. So I just wanted to, perhaps Dr. Bob and Dave Yonke are even watching us live tonight, and I would like to say thank you to them for their help. So the purpose of our presentation tonight is to provide this recommendation to you, and I've already stated what it is, that we retain the service. Also certainly answer questions from city councilors, from citizens. I will try to be as brief as possible because I know we have a lot of people that wish to speak to the issue. So again, the recommendation is to keep the service in-house. We believe that, we know that the people that work at our landfill and do these routes are providing an excellent, efficient service. And this is one area of our spending that I can say literally over decades, we have not really increased the amount of funding that we need to cover garbage collection because we're very, very efficient, and there has been a lot of automation with this service over the years. So we want to maintain that. We want to maintain control. We want to maintain control of the pricing and the service. And we believe that for the majority of residents, this is the least costly alternative at the $9.75 a month. The previous agenda item was related to ownership of the landfill, and I'm not really going to touch on that because you've already made your decision on that, so I'm going to keep it to garbage collection here. A lot has changed since July of 2013. And again, that was the time where we were just beginning our presentations at the library, and I've mentioned this story probably a few times, but it was the beginning of our first session. And it was literally 15 minutes before that session started that I got an email, and it was that the state of Wisconsin had just enacted new legislation that would not allow municipalities to implement a garbage collection fee unless you reduced your levy correspondingly to whatever that revenue would generate. And so we proceeded with the presentations because we wanted to deliver the message that at that time we were looking at about a $20 fee to make this landfill whole and to get us through. We were looking at an expansion at that time. So there's three main reasons why we're not looking for $20 anymore. And in a moment, I'm going to get back to the legislation and some changes in that area. We already implemented a recycling fee of $3.50, so that was a part of the 20 originally. We're not pursuing an expansion. We're looking at, we likely have space in our landfill through the end of 2022, if we get a contract extension with the Western Lake Superior Sanitary District. It will be filled up by the end of 2022. And we're not looking, as Mayor touched on earlier, we're not looking at expanding due to it's a gamble. There's a lot of money up front. There's no guarantee we would get that contract to get that waste coming from Duluth beyond the contract that we currently have. And the other, we are in contact with the district. We're hoping that we get favorable news from them that they're interested in extending the contract with us through the end of 2022. So all those things together, it brings us to $975 a month. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Public Works Director Janigo to talk about expansion.
Thanks, Gene. I think the mayor and Gene both touched on the general idea of not expanding the landfill and the gamble. We put together a letter that went into the packet, explaining some details or in detail why we're not looking at expanding. In 2013, in conversations with Dr. Bob, the idea was if we're looking at permitting another landfill cell, we need to start now. And talking about it last year, if we're looking to permit a cell, we need to start now. Now we're in 2015, 2 years later. We need to start yesterday if we're looking at permitting another cell. The permitting can take years. We have no guarantees at the end. Just the cost of putting together a plan. The DNR will not need a full operational plan, I don't believe, but the Army Corps of Engineers will need a full set of drawings and operational plans just to look at to decide whether they would approve it or not. So we're looking at about $500,000 there. Mitigation, if we were to use the city's mitigation bank for the wetlands that are on site, we would be looking at around $500,000. So we're at $1 million right there. We would have to construct a new mitigation bank. We'd have to go out and find the site because we don't have those kind of credits. I guess in stock, for lack of a better term. If we were to purchase them on the open market, that mitigation cost could be upwards of $2.7 million, about $60,000 an acre. That's the going rate outside of the city. Construction, we'd be looking at another $10 million bill for construction, somewhere in that area. So we're at anywhere from $11 to $13 million to put a new hole in the ground to start collecting waste. And one of the biggest things is we're dependent on other waste streams outside of the city of Superior in that event that we do expand a cell. That would put us back to negotiating with WLSSD, put us back to competing with the Sorona landfill, the Elk River landfill, competing for that waste, and in debt. Both Dr. Bob and Dave Yankee, the consultants that we spoke with, I think their exact quote was, "I wouldn't spend another nickel on that place." It's a small, as the mayor mentioned, small scale. More of a community landfill that, with the Subpart D of the Clean Air Act from 1993, the requirements became so stringent that they closed most of them up. And the biggest thing is due to the economy of scale and the size of the landfill. If you have you look at the size of a working face and the amount of garbage you can take in, the labor cost isn't a whole lot different as you get larger. To have somebody out there for a small area or a bigger area, you spread that labor across labor, equipment, leachate management. Same type of thing. It's all an economy of scale. There's still gas well monitoring. There's groundwater monitoring, and one of the biggest things, as the mayor mentioned, is the closure and post closure costs. We have an account with the DNR. We're required to maintain that landfill for another 40 years once it closed. So then we add that burden back onto the city. Again, the larger you get, the mowing, the gas well monitoring, the ground well monitoring, it all gets smaller. So in everything we've gone through, everything we've looked at, all of the numbers, it does not make sense to even try. We're going to spend close to between $500,000 and $1 million to try and get a permit. Doesn't mean we're going to get anything. And then again, you add the cost, the mitigation, the construction, and then the risks that's involved with that type of an expansion over the course of the next 15 years. It's just not a good decision. So as far as the why we don't think we're going to get a permit, we have an expert, and we listened to her. Darian, you want to mention, because Darian is the expert, I'm going to let her talk about the wetlands and the impacts.
All right, so I'll just expand a little bit on what Todd said. Expand there, no pun intended. And then we'll get back to talking about garbage collection. But this figure here shows you, it kind of tells the tale. You can see all the green areas. Those are the wetlands around our landfill. It was kind of plopped right in the middle of a lot of wetlands. The corridors you see that are not green are where we have streams. So we have streams and we have wetlands. Both of them present significant challenges for permitting. They're forested wetlands, so those are very high quality, valuable wetlands in the eyes of the state and the Army Corps. The last time that we got approval to impact wetlands for our landfill expansion was in 2001, so that was 14 years ago. In the last 20 years, looking at the entire state of Wisconsin, there's been 30 landfill projects, new landfills or expansions that have been approved, 30 of them. Out of those, 6 had wetland impacts, and out of those 6, only 1 affected more than 2 acres of wetlands. Looking at this, you can see we would need a lot more than that. We would need about 30 acres of wetlands. So something on that magnitude would really get the attention of the DNR, the Corps, but beyond that, also statewide groups, regional groups that are concerned about the environment and conservation. So there would be probably a lot of opposition to any kind of expansion at our existing site. And then, like Todd mentioned, I'll just briefly review what he said about the permitting costs. The DNR and the Corps have said for a permit, they would want to see plans like he talked about. They would also want to see a market analysis to show that we can justify filling all those wetland acres, that we would have the waste coming in, that we would be competitive in getting all that waste for the life of the cell that we build. So a market analysis, a design, an alternatives analysis, something you do for a wetland permit anywhere, looking at any other possible alternatives that don't involve impacts to wetlands. And then, of course, the mitigation. So if we did the mitigation in-house, like Todd said, we do it for about $500,000. That's a steal. It's more like $2 or $3 million if you go to the private market or to the DNR mitigation program. So couple all of those issues with all the ones that Todd talked about, the construction costs, everything else. That's why we're making the recommendation to not try to pursue an expansion at our existing site.
Okay. What we've got here is, I guess, the truth of it is that there's hundreds of different scenarios that we could run, different options that could play out over the long run. It would be impossible for us to review and analyze every single one of them. But after days and months and feels like years of review, we've come up with a couple of scenarios that we feel would be good solutions to the financial problems that we're facing. Scenario 1 up here is really not an option. It's the crash course we've been on for years, and that's to do nothing, just continue kind of business as usual. And this course would lead us to a projected cash deficit of over $7 million in by the year 2023. So, like I said, that's not really an option. Scenario 2 is a recommendation presented by administration tonight, charging $975 per household. This would allow us to continue providing garbage service and operate the landfill until the airspace is consumed at the end of year 2022, approximately, at which time the landfill would be capped and closed. The scenario would come at a cost of $975 per household per month, and we feel that this scenario would allow us to build up a sufficient reserve by the end of the year 2023 of just over $2 million, and that would, we feel, be sufficient enough to take care of our closure and long-term care. Scenario 3 is we received a very competitive proposal from Waste Management to provide garbage collection service to our residents. This scenario, again, would put the city in a position at the end of 2023 with sufficient reserves to cover closure, post-closure, and would leave us with a cash reserve of over $3 million. Under this scenario, Waste Management would bill residents $11.25 per can per month for the same size service, 95-gallon service that we currently have. Although this scenario leaves the city in a slightly better financial position on paper, it would cost our residents an additional $1.8 million over the course of a 10-year agreement, paying that extra $1.50 per can per month. And what makes it look financially good is the city would recognize savings from cutting salary and benefits to our current employees collecting garbage, and also related equipment and maintenance costs would be reduced. This slide is really just a visual of the previous slide. It shows cash balances at the end of each year through the year 2023. The blue one on the bottom, it was scenario 1, which leads us to a $7 million deficit by the year 2023. And scenarios 2 and 3 pretty much mirror each other. The waste management, or contracting with waste management, is the upper line there. And basically, we, right out of the bat, we would recognize the advantage would be selling our equipment to waste management. Their proposal was to pay us about $778,000 for our equipment and trucks and garbage cans. So that, on a cash flow basis, kind of puts that one ahead. And after that, they kind of follow each other. In all three scenarios, in year 2022, you see a downward spike. That's the year that we're projecting approximately a $2.5 million capping job once the landfill is closed. So again, that's just a visual of the prior slide. And then finally, on my part, this is just kind of the same information in a different table, comparing the three scenarios. Just a couple points to highlight. With waste management, they offered 3 different size cans at different rates, from $9.25 for a 32-gallon can, and I mentioned $11.25 per can for the current size garbage cans we have. And then just the other point on the far right there, the extra services, if we were to get rid of our equipment and employees, we'd no longer be able to offer the spring cleanup and leaf and brush pickup and some of those other things that we currently do. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, a summary of our scenarios there.
Chris, could we just touch on the reserves? Some people may ask, why do you need a reserve? If we did not, this would be the only operation that the city has that doesn't hold a reserve. Reserves are important for a lot of reasons. In this case, our bond rating could be adversely affected by not having a reserve if we were at a 0 or negative balance deficit. The reserves are also necessary. You're looking at 8 years out, and anything can happen in those 8 years. For instance, as I said earlier, the DNR could raise their tipping fee without us having any say about it. And for every dollar they raise it, that takes that number off kilter. We could have major equipment breakdowns. The compactors out there cost $400,000 or $500,000.
$800,000 for a compactor. $800,000 for a compactor.
So a compactor is a major piece of equipment that is necessary. There's all sorts of things that could happen, and it's like most of us, we need a reserve to fall back on if times get tough or whatever. So not having a reserve is dangerous at the minimum and could be catastrophic at the maximum. I just want to touch on that. And the motion on the floor, the amended motion for 775, leaves not just zero reserves, it also brings the landfill in deficit for the first 3 years out. That number has to be covered by some other source of funds.
Okay, the point of this slide was I wanted to just take the next 4 years and kind of show you some big picture financials of where we're going. And one of the issues that Mayor Hagan asks his administration for, and he has recently, is tell me what you think your top 3 issues are for your divisions. And the top 3 that have been on my list for a while, number 1 is the landfill, and number 2 is our general fund, and where our projections are showing that we're going in the next 4 years. And these are 2 big parts of our overall operations. We've got our general fund as the biggest part of our operation. That's about 50% of our spending is right there. Obviously, the landfill is very big at $6 million plus. Environmental services, which consists of wastewater and stormwater, collectively probably around $11 million. And my point of putting these 2 together, the landfill and the general fund, is to talk about the relationship that they have had in the past and where we think it needs to move in the future. There was a subsidy some years, well, in 2014 it was a subsidy of around $1 million. We cut that down to $500,000 in this year, and it's budgeted at 0 for 2016. The main reason of that is the levy limits that we've had in place for the last 11 years really are catching up with us. And so there's quite an increase in competition for those tax dollars among the big areas that the mayor mentioned, public works, police, and fire. We consider those our core services. And so the subsidy to the landfill is kind of getting squeezed out of that scenario. So the top, I have handouts of this as well for anybody who can't see the numbers quite well. But what we're looking at here, this is where the landfill will go if there's no solution at all. If we can't get agreement on 975 or some other option, this is where the landfill is going. And for 2016, there will be a deficit of $1.1 million. That's the gap we've been talking about for quite some time. The general fund directly down below is fine for 2016, but things change. In 2017, I'm projecting a deficit of $174,000. If we look up above, there will be a projection of a $2.4 million issue in the landfill. And those 2 we have to settle those somehow. Those are really big numbers for us to try. We have to look at the general fund to solve the landfill because we can't take it out of wastewater rates, we can't take it out of stormwater rates. So if the landfill remains as a priority to be subsidized, the only place it can come from is the general fund. That's really the point of this slide here. I don't know if anybody has any questions before we move on.
I did have one quick question. Now, you had mentioned that we cannot use those other funds, stormwater, et cetera. However, the recycling fund is subsidizing.
The recycling program is a part of the landfill utility. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. All the recycling numbers, whether it's the revenue from the $3.50 per month fee, that's all included in these landfill numbers, and the expense of providing that service is included as well. That is really the end of my presentation. I just want to, if I leave you with anything, earlier in the night we were talking about reserves and the importance of reserves. And there's a proposal to lower this fee to $7.75. And in the best case scenario, when you extend out for 10 years, and we don't know, a lot of unknowns that we have. In the best case scenario, it would break even at that point in time. And my biggest concern of that is that in these next few years, we have some really high capital that needs to be addressed in the landfill utility. We've put off purchases because this decision hasn't been made yet. There's equipment that's getting older. It will have higher maintenance costs if we don't do something. And one of our biggest capital years is the year coming up. I think it's 2016. It's either 2016 or 17. I think it's 2017, actually. And if we were to lower this below the 975, we start running deficits in those first 3 years. And that's a huge concern of mine because it has to be covered from somewhere. So I will leave you with, I want to go on record strongly recommending $9.75. This is what all the other experts, we paid these people to help us to get to this decision. This is what we are all recommending, so I'll leave it at that.
Councilor Olson? If you don't mind, I'd like to go down to the lower. Just so everybody can see me and I don't have my back to my counselor behind me. I have a logical reason for what I'm proposing. And first of all, I want to thank the city staff. I want to thank you, Mayor, for taking the time. I know we don't agree on this, and I hope we can agree to disagree. So here's my little part in this. Some of the numbers that you were given, we all share. So the reason that I have to do this, you've heard the history of the landfill. You've heard where we're going. And where we're going is nowhere with it, because in the year 2022, we are going to cease operating the landfill. So that's first reality. The landfill will be gone in 2022, unless for some reason we change our mind, or the DNR or Corps of Engineer has a change of heart, and I don't believe that's going to happen. So what I've done first is a little simple math. $775 a month is $93 a year. Okay? I don't mean to insult anybody, but I'm going to do this real slow so I don't screw it up myself. It is pretty simple math. It's $93 a year. You have your garbage, and counselors, bear with me. You have your garbage picked up 52 weeks out of the year. So you take that $93 a year, you got to divide that by 52. Okay? Let me step back. Excuse me. I want to go to the revenue that'll generate. So $93 a year is going to generate $930,000 in revenue through the approximately 10,000 homes. Okay, we have been subsidizing the landfill for the last 3, 4, 5 years, anywhere from $850,000 to $1 million. So the $775, which is $93 a month, which is $930 a year, or $930,000, will pretty much wipe out what we've been subsidizing. Okay, so we're back to square zero from the beginning. Now, with what we're looking at, and there's a lot of unknowns, the fact of the matter is that Cell 5 is going to reach its capacity pretty much with or without, you know, I'm glad somebody else said WLSSD. I was just going to say a contract. But anyway, so even if we got into permitting, that's going to be roughly $4 to $5 million by the time we get to the end of it. And we know we're probably not going to do that, don't want to do that, and we need to move on after 2022 or 23, whatever this comes to an end. So getting back to the 775 and the proposal that I came up with, the reason for it, as Gene just stated, at best, we would break even. And for the people, which according to the stats in here, the 13.2% of the residents in Douglas County, with the majority of them being in the city of Superior, live under poverty level. Okay? The household median wage yearly is $45,370. Now, you all know what you make. I know what I make. The 13.2% of people that are living in poverty, I don't believe that we should be on the front end charging more money than what we absolutely need. I understand the need for reserves. I'm in a business that in health and welfare and pension we have to have reserves or we don't exist. I agree with that. But we're running the landfill right now without a contingency funding. We have. It's gone up. Sometimes we've had contingency. It's gone down. We've had to dip into it. So that's been a scale we've been doing for a long period of time. So now what I want to get back to the folks that are looking at what this is going to cost them. When you do all the division, all the addition, it comes down to $1.79 a week to have somebody from the city of Superior. Dennis Dahlbeck asked if there was union people in here, and there are. I'm glad he said union. Maybe he didn't find out what happened in 2010. But anyway, the fact of the matter is you have a city employee, one that we fought hard to get the wage issue taken care of here very recently. You are going to retain that person. They're going to be picking up your garbage for $1.79 a week. I don't think you can do it any cheaper. I'm pretty confident you can't do it any cheaper to have somebody. All you got to do is get the garbage to the curb. So that's my plea to you folks that understand at what I'm trying to propose here. Not sarcastically, it's a cup of coffee. Maybe it's less than a bottle of beer. So I want you to think about that when you're thinking about what we absolutely need to do. We need to do something with the landfill. There is no doubt about it. We don't have a plan past 2022-23 other than be at the mercy of the private hauler. That's another reason I came up with this, to do what we could possibly do, what's best for the people right now, not charge them any more money than what we need to. Just a couple other things. In the numbers that you saw on one of the charts, the reason I'm not looking at the 975, one of the reasons, and I don't believe this is possible, but after 2023, we were going to have a projected year-end cash balance of $21,04,870. So with the revenue that we'd be creating, I'm pretty sure there's no way to refund 10,000 people $210.49. There will be people that have lived in homes, that have moved out of homes. There'll be people that, are in rental units. So the cash balance that you're going to end up with is money that we have paid all along. That's the only reason I don't agree with the 975. I don't think it should be on the backs of the taxpayer. What I do want to remind you is I am a taxpayer. I pay the same fees that every single one of you in this room that live in Superior pay. Now, just a couple other things. And I don't doubt that we may run into some problems, but if we're looking on holding off purchases for large equipment, and if we are not going to be in the landfill business, we should seriously consider leasing equipment with a maintenance agreement. Because there's three components to the landfill: revenue, labor, and machinery. That's it. That's all it should be. No more, no less. If we have profit, we have a reserve. If we don't, and I'm not in favor of subsidizing through the general fund. I never have been. But we had things that went bad before that caused us to be in this position. But that's where we are. The 775 brings us to, at best, break-even point. We were given those numbers. Now, the only other one would be that I don't want to be a pessimist, I want to be an optimist, but the fact of the matter is with WLSSD, there are too many options for them. So that's about all I've got. I asked the council to consider what I'm proposing. I'm asking reiterating to the administration, I appreciate everything you've done. This is nothing more than an offer that I've come forth with, and I'm hoping that you'll support it.
Counselor, I'd like to ask a couple questions, if I may. Sure. First of all, there's a responsibility that we have to take on, and to not have a reserve is totally irresponsible. I'll tell you why. After that is capped, we still have a major responsibility for 40 years. Most of us won't even be around. And to not have a reserve to have part of that taken care of is irresponsible for the people that will be here when those decisions have to be made. The second thing is that the equipment, we are planning on, I don't know if it's been elaborated, leasing if we have to, so that there'll be no purchases. Within the numbers we have, there are no purchases for equipment in that scenario. And if we do need equipment, we're talking about leasing them. Okay. The other thing is that the rate, $1.79 per week, and I think we've discussed this. Do you really believe that $7.75 will get us there to the end of 2022 or 23 without an increase beyond that $7.75? When you're talking about deficits 3 years straight out, in 16, 17, and 18, you're talking about deficits by using the $7.75. Do you really believe that we won't be back talking to these folks in the very near future about upping that $7.75 to make what needs to be right?
Do you want me to respond? On the first part, as far as a responsibility, we would have that responsibility no matter what we did with scenario 1, 2, or 3, correct?
But it's better if we have a reserve to handle it.
But we would.
How?
We'd be responsible for it no matter what scenario we chose. No matter what.
One moment, please.
No matter what number. So I understand that concern. That is there, that looms out there. I don't have an answer for it other than it'll be what the responsibility is. On the part of the equipment, I commend Todd or whoever has made that decision, and then it takes the chance of having any unscheduled maintenance costs if we do a lease with equipment. Now, do I honestly believe that we're not going to come back here? No, I don't believe that.
Okay.
But if we don't have to be back here, we all have been given numbers that we may be back here for a low portion. Nobody knew the number when I was in a meeting. And there was a number thrown at me that this could possibly work with a set number, and I said that I didn't want to agree to that. I don't doubt that this will pop up again just like everything else. This is business. I understand it's good business, it's sound business, but on the backs of the people that live here and pay taxes every day, we haven't had any changes to stormwater runoff. Has any refunds been given back to the city? Different topic, but there are unforeseens, Mayor. I understand that. We have them every day in every concept of living. But those are things that we have to face when we get to them. We had this problem by subsidizing the landfill 5 years ago, and now we are trying to impose a fee onto the taxpayers. That's why I can't agree to the $9.75 with all due respect, sir.
Okay. Then I just don't believe that personally I could endorse a $7.75 knowing full well that, and we will be back in this chamber 1 year from now talking about we need to raise it again because it wasn't enough with the deficits are going to be out there. Gene, what is the deficit projected with the $7.75 rate? What is the deficit projected for 16, 17, and 18? if we have a 775 rate, the deficits will be
2016, 181,000. 2017, 545,000. 2018, 98,000.
How are we going to cover that? Go back to the general fund and cut police and fire and public works? I don't think so.
Respectfully, before this becomes a long conversation between Councilor Olson and Mayor Hagan, I have
understand
a
that.
little bit to contribute specifically to this.
Would you please just let me finish my
Sure.
dialogue and questions of Councilor
I
Olson?
think I can help both of you, but sure, certainly.
Thank you very much. How are we going to handle the deficits at a 775 rate that's not going to pay the bill? Are we going to go back? We can't issue debt for it. That'd be stupid. We cannot eliminate services that are at the bottom level of the what's necessary now for our core services. How are we going to pay that in 16, 17, and 18? We're going to come right back here and tell you that, by the way, we promised you last year it's no longer good. So here's the difference, folks. Under 775, you're $1.79 a month. Under 775. If you're under 975, you're at $225 a month. The difference is 46 cents a week for an insurance that we're not going to come back here next year with deficits. This is simple math. It's simple math. Nobody likes it. I hate it. But the fact of the matter is we can't wish this thing away. I'm sorry.
I'm good. With all respect, sir.
Councilor Garfield.
Thank you.
We did have Councilor Dahlbeck.
I have had my light on
I'm
for a
sorry.
very
I
long
mean
time.
Councilor Dahlbeck. I'm sorry.
For a very long time.
Okay, I didn't know who was
And I would like to
first.
speak now.
That would be you.
We've also heard from Councilor Dahlbeck once.
Actually, Councilor Garfield was first. I'm sorry, Councilor Dahlbeck. Go ahead, Councilor.
All right, thank you very much. And this is something that I had kind of brought to the attention of the mayor and the committee when we had the preliminary discussion. There's a lot of pressure on us to get this right the first time, and there's a lot of effect on the city when we first roll out the fee that's going to be felt in that first year. So what I want to say is we know what numbers we need to get to in each fiscal year to make sure that we're responsible. We know what kind of reserve we have to be building. And for most of us in this room, for most of us in this council, and a lot of folks, the difference between 775 and 975 isn't a big deal. But my district looks different than some of the districts in the city. It certainly looks very different than Councilor Dennis Dahlbeck's district, who already kind of gave us support for a flat 975 fee. That first year, this is going to be felt by some of the lowest income and especially the fixed income senior residents in our city the most. And so I think that what we need to do, and I don't think we can make a responsible decision right away in this meeting here today, I think what we need to do is we need to go back and crunch the numbers and come up with a couple of different scenarios where we may have, I don't know what it would be. It might be a 575 or a 675 fee for folks who are enrolled in programs such as Medicare or senior care or energy assistance or SNAP benefits. But we might have to implement a smaller fee for some of those folks, and we might need to see what we would have to have the regular fee be adjusted to make that kind of a proposal work. It might stay at 975, and the impact might be relatively minimal for the folks that need to have an exemption. It might go up a small amount. I don't think it would go up very significantly. But I would want to say that I think that the exemption from this would need to be initiated by the people that are going to be paying the fees, the property owners, and that they would need to provide some kind of proof that they are in need of the assistance, and they would need to re-enroll on an annual or semi-annual basis. But whether we revisit this in 1 year or 2 years, it's the first year that people have to come up with the additional. It's $117 at 975. It's $81 at 675. It may not sound like a lot to most of us. To some folks, it may be food. It may be electrical bills and medical bills, and we need to be very conscientious of what we're doing. And so I'm in agreement with Councilor Olson that 775 would have less of an effect on some of the folks that need to be protected the most in the city. What I'm thinking is that I would appreciate if Councilor Olson would be willing to entertain withdrawing his motion, and I would like to replace it with a motion to table at this time. We've got until January 1st, under this proposal to figure this out. Another couple of weeks isn't going to kill us, but I need to see, if I'm going to support this the way it's written, I need to see some numbers with an alternative that has an option for a lower rate for seniors and for some fixed income and low income folks, and I think that's absolutely necessary.
Counselor, first of all, we don't have till January 1. We have a general fund budget that's got to be worked on. It has to be by statutory requirement, has to be presented next month. Without some sort of a strong indication that about this issue we're here for tonight, we cannot present a balanced budget for the general fund without the knowledge of where we're going here, period. And to wait till January 1, it will be way too late, because by law, by statute, we have to adopt a budget and spread the levy by the end of November. So that plan, once again, is fiscal irresponsible.
If we need to be fiscally responsible, though, if what we have to do is create a lower rate and see what the effects are after 1 year and adjust the regular rate accordingly, that's going to be a more responsible decision for fixed income seniors and for low income folks than to kind of forge ahead. At $975 is a nice number for our budget. It's not a nice number for every resident in the city. And I'll admit it's relatively affordable for all folks. It's a better option than a lot of cities have for garbage collections. It's still a relatively affordable option, but it's not equitable to affect everyone in the same way when we know that there's a big disparity between the folks at the bottom in this town and the folks at the top. If we need to, and I would say that for folks that you are willing to sign a statement that this new fee is going to cause me substantial duress and harm, and I need that $117 just to make it by right now, we may need to just have to give them an exemption the first year and forge ahead with everyone else with the $975 and revisit this in a year. If we have to revisit this in the year, that's more responsible.
Thank you. Councilor Sweeney. Councilor Dennis Dahlbeck.
All right. First of all, Graham, I think you have to look at the water and light. We do not charge different rates for different people. Everybody, the rates are set, and that's what people pay. And that's what we do with anything else that the city has. You don't change the rates. The rates are guaranteed. Everybody pays the same, or I'm sure we'd end up in court. And Danny, I think that, have you not been listening tonight to everyone else, what they said? You have professionals there, accountants. Now, I assume you don't have an accountant degree, so I have to go along with what the professionals are saying. This is the minimum that we can get by on. You have to have a reserve. As a counselor, Dan, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the city and to the citizens of our city. And I don't believe you're following through with it. You have people that are very well educated. They're not there pulling numbers out of their hat. Those numbers are that is the least amount that we need. The 975, no one, I wish we didn't have to have anything, but we do. And we have to have a figure that's livable. And that's $9.75, not $7.75. You have to have a reserve. I think that anybody, whether it's your own personal finance or business finance, everyone has a reserve. That's just in case. It's an insurance. And all of our other budgets have reserves built in. Why would you skip this one? So my fellow councilors would do the right thing for yourself and for 2,700 people that we each represent, and not jeopardize them having to pay 400% more down the road if this ever ended up with a private enterprise. You jeopardize city jobs, and at a time that I'd call the vote.
Councilor Sweeney.
Thank you. Tying the general budget and this together must be together. The very group that the two gentlemen spoke about could be the most vulnerable if core services are cut. Children, seniors, the vulnerable, because if core services are cut, police, fire, emergency service roads, they're the ones that are going to be hurt the most. It's 9 cents a day, no more than 7 to 9 cents a day between the two proposals. Okay? Just remember that. But the power of time and volume are on our side if we enact this today or in the next week. I'll even say next week. The power of timing, which levels out the payment of, again, it's only 8 cents, 7 cents a day. Time is on our side. There's a big advantage in timing and volume creates for these next 10 years. The time to do it is now, because I will guarantee you that in 2 or 3 years we'll come back and it may have to be $14. We don't know the numbers. Okay? I would believe, and other people have said this, Councilor Olson, and all due respect to you, there wasn't one expert that I heard, at least, you bring up, you consulted, you talked to, and so we had many experts on this side, okay? I listened to them all. I attended meeting. I studied the issue in detail. I probably know more about garbage than I ever knew in my life, so, but I studied it, okay? Do we want to come back here in 2 or 3 years and tell the general public that we made a mistake? But no, now we have to charge you $14 because 2 years ago we didn't realize what we were doing. That's what we're telling them. $9.75 is the figure. I was on the committee, Tom Penningsty and I. The management didn't come up with this figure. They didn't throw it at a dart. This is the figure we must have. There's an old saying, trust the performance. I did trust it, but I also verified the numbers. 975 is the number, not 775. For 7 cents a day, I'm going with the experts. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Bender.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to agree with two of the councilors, and that is that there are many people in the city that are on a fixed income. In fact, when you think about it, everybody's on a fixed income. You only earn so much money, and that's all the money that you can spend. So I would like to agree with him in that. And taking a look at the 3rd District, which is basically 21st Street up through the middle school and Bartley Manor, Woodland Way, 25 doorways in South Superior and going between Tower Avenue and Catlin, that at Northern Light School, which is a good benchmark, as it were, 70% are on free and reduced lunch. So that's a whole very large percentage. And many people are very, very hard-pressed to just pay the fixed expenses that they have. And I won't list the fixed expenses, but I'm sure we can all think of those just from our own. So some sort of allowance needs to be made for those people who won't be able to pay this.
Councilor Esther Dahlbeck.
Well, what I'm hearing, Mayor, you said the tipping fee started out at $1. Was it $1.25?
I think it was $1.50.
Okay, that's all right, but if I remember right, going back to the sewage, it started out at 25 cents. And the rainwater started out at whatever, and everything starts out at something. And then eventually it balloons to what it is today. So are you telling us that this will stay at $9.75 forever, or is it just temporarily?
What we're saying is that if we go with anything less than that, we'll be back here next year with deficits to talk to the people about. At $9.75, the numbers you saw, projection shows us we're going to have a reserve and not have to worry about those failures that happen along the way.
Are you guaranteeing, though, that this will never change? This will stay at $9.75?
Well, what we're saying, it'll be at $9.75 until the landfill is closed, and in 2022, we will then have to go to a transfer station with our garbage because we will not have a landfill. And what happens in 2022? If I knew the answer, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Well, my district, everybody knows where my district is, and I My district is a very poor district. And I was a lady called me the other day. She makes less than $800 a month. And $9.75 this day and age does not buy more than a pound of hamburger and a gallon of milk. So you take that away from these seniors or these people who are on fixed income. What have they got? I mean, yes, $9.75 doesn't sound like much. Neither does $3.25. But to people who are not getting any amount of money, people who are living on fixed incomes and the working poor, $25,000 a year, trying to raise children, doing good. They aren't buying that can of beer or that package of cigarettes. They're trying to make a life for their family. But we keep hitting them and hitting them and hitting them. Yeah, to you and me it doesn't sound like much, but to them it is. So I just can't go along with this. Thank you.
Wait, I perfectly understand, as you know, but when we put emotions into decisions, that the decisions become very, very weak. Councillor Herrick?
Yeah, I was just going to add, kind of in response to Esther's question there. According to the New Gen, it says, we agree that the implementation of a monthly user fee of $9.75. If the city is to retain the collection services, it is essential that a monthly solid waste user fee be charged. This would be in addition to the fee that is currently charged for recycling services. New Gen supports the implementation of $9.75 per month solid waste user fee. But then he goes on to say, we also believe that this fee should be sufficient for the next 3 years. However, the city should review it annually to ensure that the financial integrity of the solid waste utility is maintained if their rate is unchanged. So just, again, like I was told, is that, maybe for the first 3 years, but we don't know what's going to happen with expenses and that as we go forward.
What are you reading from?
The letter from New Gen Strategies and Solutions that we got with our packet under 8.3A, 8.3A.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of answer her question, so.
Okay. We'll open it up to the folks that would like to
I'd
speak.
like to speak
I'm
one
sorry.
last time if possible.
I'm
sorry. Thank you. Just from the way Councillor Dahlbeck responded, you'd think I was the first municipal official ever to suggest a sliding scale for a utility fee. I'm pretty sure that I'm not. And what I just want to reiterate, because we should probably vote on the $7.75 proposal before we go back to the general public. Maybe not, but the option here, I would like to ask the question, will we substantially jeopardize our budgeting process if we take 2 weeks, send this back to, because I'm not an accountant, send this back to the experts that we have to say, how much might a sliding scale impact this, come up with a couple of different scenarios, and in 2 weeks revisit this so that we're going to try to arrive at the same reserve but under a different system where we have some sliding scale built in, because I think that's very important. Would that substantially jeopardize it if we took 2 weeks to just try to, make it work for this year and try to fix this?
If I may, you'll have the same arguments about a sliding scale about why she got that and I didn't get that. That's number one. Number two is I don't know of a utility, and this is pretty much kind of a utility that has a sliding scale for anybody. We don't have a sliding scale for anything we do. Your bankers don't have sliding scales. Your grocery stores don't have sliding scales. Entitlements are sliding scales. And this is not an entitlement, number one. Number two is if we had to go in that direction, we would have to hire people to review W-2s, 1040, 1040A, to make sure that that house gets a reduction, and how to identify that with the garbage truck versus that house that doesn't. And then you've got your accounting system. We would have to be hiring people to review all these annually. Then the cost goes up exponentially.
Someone I don't remember who on the committee, but someone had suggested that by using proof of an existing entitlement from a approved list and having people voluntarily send it in, we could avoid most of that expense.
I will tell you right now, I will oppose a sliding scale entitlement, period.
May I, Mayor?
Sir?
I just want to just add that you can't have sliding scales when it comes kind of stuff. Everybody pays the same. Just like our property taxes based on per thousand. As the mayor said, you don't go into a grocery store and get cheaper groceries because you make less money. Everybody has to be treated the same. And if we didn't treat everybody the same, we would be in court answering why.
Councilor Finsland.
I'd like to point out that we've already put this off 2 weeks by not having a quorum a couple weeks ago. We should have made this decision 2 weeks ago. If we put it off again, it'll just be delayed and again and again. And I don't believe that. I think this is the night we should make this decision, and I think it should be made fiscally responsibly.
Councilor Esther Dahlbeck.
No, I was just thinking, what about the person who only has pickup once a month? They have garbage only picked up once a month. They're still paying the full fee. So, there's a lot of things here that just aren't kosher as far as I'm concerned.
You raised a good question, and I had similar comments from snowbirds saying, I live so-and-so and for 7 months, and I live in Superior for 5 months. I don't want to pay my sewage, my storm runoff, my garbage, etc. So I asked, where do you live? I found out where they live. So I wrote to those municipalities, and guess what? They're paying 12 months a year down there, whether they're there or not.
But I was just curious
Yeah.
as to what you do with somebody who only has one garbage or one pickup once a month.
Councilor Olson.
Just one more thing that what I had looked at. Denise and I had talked. Another thing too, down the road here, whatever we do here, I certainly didn't come here for a fight, but another thing to look at would be in the future to make sure that when we're doing these fees, that if we could get to a point where we could have electronic fund transfers for people, that is something that the elderly may be easier to handle. Most people that are on a pension have direct deposit. I'm pretty sure every bank that exists has electronic fund transfers. So whatever decision we come to, that we consider going to a payment plan such as that. Because one of the things that I am hearing, this is going to be another fee, and I'm going to get that quarterly fee, and that all of a sudden is going to be added on to the storm water. We all know. So just consideration.
You raised a good question, and Chris, we do have that opportunity, don't we?
Yeah, with our current utility billing, Muni Billing has that option to go online and make payments. You can have your balance automatically deducted. Right now, as of today, it's once a quarter that happens. We're in conversations with them right now to allow a flat amount. If you wanted to have $50 a month taken out of your account, it would automatically happen. So we are working on that.
Not everybody has.
And that's great. But there were people in a meeting yesterday that did not know we had that. Correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
I looked at my bill, my last bill we got, and there was a flyer in there that has all the information on how to pay your bill online. It's right on your invoice. Go to www. So, we try to communicate it, but you're right. I mean, a lot of people didn't know about it. So, I guess while I'm up here, I would just kind of clarify Councillor Herrick's comment about the letter from NewGen. Mr. Yonke did recommend, his recommendation came on a conversation we had about, we thought, okay, $9.75, if everything goes as planned, we could guarantee that we wouldn't have to raise that rate. And it was his warning that, don't guarantee that. There are no guarantees. He said maybe for 3 years, you could get by on that, but never make a guarantee, but our projections are just that, projections. We don't know what's going to happen, and we felt 975 should be fine.
Councilor Fennessy?
Yeah, I had a number of talking points, and I'm not going to go through them because almost everything's been said already. So, but I just want to say that I think we have done due diligence. We had the option of just plain privatizing everything, and then if that was the case, everybody would be up in arms. I think we've done due diligence, getting it down to a minimum, down to a bare basic. I will not support a lower fee only because knowing that we are going to have a deficit for at least the next 3 years. I don't think that's fiscally responsible. But I appreciate all the comments. I echo a lot of what Councilor Sweeney said. Both of us probably had a little bit more involvement because we were on the internal review committee. I just commend everybody that had put the time and effort into this, and it's nothing that we came up with overnight, as everybody knows. It's been talked about, discussed, every option's been looked at. So I agree with Councilor Finsland. We need to get this done tonight.
We have members of the public that would like to address this issue. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
I just want to, because I feel like my opportunity to contribute to this decision, given our stringent timeline, is a little late. And I'd like to say that if, in fact, we're so bound that we can't take 2 more weeks to work on this as a council, and this is the first time we've all gotten together as a council to discuss this, then, and I know, I was available to meet 2 weeks ago. I know some of this body wasn't. But it would have been more appropriate that we started having this discussion on this fee in council, had this first meeting maybe 2 months ago or a month ago, so that we had the opportunity, if we needed to go back and revise this proposal, to actually contribute and do that again. And I feel like I'm put in a bad position where overall I support the $9.75 fee and I understand the importance of it, but I'd be hard-pressed to vote for it tonight without some of the other considerations that myself and some of my fellow councilors have made, and that's an unfortunate position to be put in. I want to thank everybody who's come out here tonight, and I want to hear from the general public, but I think you're going to hear some of the similar concerns that we've had tonight, that Councilor Esther Dahlbeck has had tonight, about there are folks that are really going to be impacted by this, and year one is kind of that crucial year where folks maybe at this time of year don't know how by January they're going to start putting up that little extra bit of money every month. And getting some of these folks a 1-year exemption would at least give them time to plan for how they're going to take on new fees. And I think, I know the argument has been made that utilities don't have sliding fees, and I respect that to a great extent, but there are a lot of folks that just can't afford a little bit more right now. It's just, it's not about fairness or unfairness. It's just, can we really do that to people without, and I'm going to say this because I said this before, but we have a lot of pressure on us to get it right this time, to get it right the first time. And with that, I'm done with my comments. But thank you to everybody who's worked on this process. I understand a lot of good work has gone into this, and I understand, the importance of this overall. I just feel put in an unfortunate position.
Okay, we have signed up to speak Daryl. I apologize. Okay.
And as folks start to make their way to the podium, I remind everyone that we have by ordinance, a 3-minute time limit for comments. Urge you, as always, to keep it civil and keep it relevant.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Daryl Hoekstra. I'm with Waste Management. I'm the public sector representative. And I'm the person that has worked on the RFP response that we gave to the city back when we started this project back in April. A lot has happened since that time. Most significantly, the ability for the city to be able to bill the residents and not go continually in the hole by not being able to bill the residents for the service. It sounds like your mind is pretty well made up that you're going to continue doing the service yourself, but I would like to, and I'm not doing my job if I don't point out to you folks some of the things that the highlights that we had in our proposal. And just real quickly, I'd like to run through those. I only got 3 minutes, but I'm going to go as quickly as I can. We've already touched on it, the $778,000 or just under $778,000 that we would pay the city immediately after we would take over the contract for the trucks and the containers. Now, the trucks, was actually an option in the RFP. It wasn't a requirement of the RFP, but we took a look at the trucks that the city has, and we felt we presented a very fair price for that. So that would be the first and most immediate benefit would be the $778,000 to the city. Actually, the gentleman on the phone was talking about everybody has to pay the same price. Actually, with our proposal, it's based on volume-based pricing. And with volume-based pricing, it means that a senior citizen would not have to have a 96-gallon cart or a 64-gallon cart. They could, or anybody could go to a 32-gallon cart because of the recycling. They're not generating as much trash today as they did several years ago. So I would urge you to at least take a peek at the rates that we have in there on our contract. If you look at the senior citizen rate, it's $8.05 for a 32-gallon cart, just barely over the $7.75 that you've been talking about. So I would urge you to at least take a look and consider that. And then the other rates would be $9.25 for a 32-gallon for somebody that wasn't a senior, $10.40 for a 64-gallon, and $11.25 for a 96-gallon, which is what everybody has right now. The idea of the 5 city employees that you have right now came up and wanting to make sure that they had jobs. Again, part of the RFP response was that we would offer the 5 city employees that are currently involved in the solid waste pickup, we would offer them jobs conditioned upon, obviously, DOT requirements and things like that. Wages are comparable, benefits are comparable. Some are a little bit better on our side, some a little bit better on your side, but they're very comparable. So just wanted to point that out to you as well. And then also to the city, the long-term effect of not having to replace the trucks that you have, not having the maintenance, not having the insurance costs, not having the salaries of the employees, all are a significant number when it comes to the city. So just real quickly, I want to thank I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, okay. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to present. It's been a pleasure working with everybody that I have worked with at the city, and good luck on however you decide to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.
Dan O'Neill.
Hello, Council. My name's Dan O'Neill, 2003 Garfield Avenue. I'm here to speak about the proposed fee. I want you people to please take a hard look at this. As was said here, I'm not going to say a lot of the things that were said, but there's a lot of poor people and people on fixed incomes that it's really going to impact. And 80 of you councilors are not seeing that. You're not seeing the people and have never felt being poor. Otherwise, you would understand what Esther and them are saying. I want to thank Councillor Garfield and Councillor Olson for really sticking up for the people. Here's where I'm having a problem with all this. I've heard tonight we could lose 25% of our police force, of our fire department, of our public works. I served 10 years on this council, and I don't know how many times I heard that same thing. I heard we have to have 975, but that's going to stick for the whole time, the mayor said. But then Councillor Herrick reads something that, well, no, in 3 years we could look at this and we can raise it, which will happen, just like it has with all our other fees. They may be that today, but next year they're not going to be that. I hear Councillor Dahlbeck on the phone saying, if we privatize, it's $40 to $60. Then I hear this gentleman stand up here and say, well, no, it's $8 to $12. I don't have a lot of faith in what I'm being told from any of you except the 2 councillors there and Esther. I don't have a lot of faith in any of this. I think it's all suspect. I think it's a way of not handling your business properly. When I see lots of raises being given to the city, to people in the city, if you own a business and you're doing well, you give raises. If you're not doing well, which I'm hearing here we're not doing well, you don't. You don't spend up to, what I've heard is $80,000 on signs in a park that you could do for $200 or $300. If the business is doing bad, you pull back, you don't spend the money. But the advantage this council has is you can come to the taxpayer tree, us, without any concern with how it's really going to impact us. And these numbers and reports and all these studies you've had, it doesn't matter. Think about the poor people in this community and think about what you're going to do to them. Thank you.
Dee Fetters, if you still want to talk.
Hello, everyone. It's past my bedtime. I didn't hear a lot of what these people had to say. I'm hard of hearing. We got a poor sound system here, and you got to talk into the microphone. I want to thank everyone for their input. I have a couple of questions. In that original presentation, who recommended the initial $20 fee? I don't know how that number jumped up, because then it makes $9.75 look good. You start at 20 and drop to $9.75. That looks really good. I think the reason people in Superior are upset about this, it might not be the $10 to me or to you. We were not a part of the process. Or if we were, I didn't get the memo. I missed it. I didn't know if there were public meetings. I would have come. We put you there. We put our mayor there. We count on you to take care of us. And then all of a sudden something is passed. And boom, we find out about it after the fact. How about letting us be a part of the process? Ask for our input. Maybe we've got some good ideas. Are you going to review this fee yearly? Okay, let's say we go with the $9.75. Can you give us a moratorium for 5 years that it's not going to go up? I'll go for $9.75. What's going to happen when the landfill closes? I don't understand. I guess I need a 101 in city government. I guess I don't understand. You're supposed to look out for us. And I've never gotten involved in a lot of this stuff because I figured everybody's looking out for us. But they're not. What's going to happen with a rental? So then I've got garbage pickup at my rental. How much are you going to charge me a can? I got to go back to my renters. I'm up as high as I can charge them. I'm giving them good housing. I can't charge them anymore. I can't. In good conscience, these people need a place to live. And I give them the best that I can give them. But when I'm getting feed to death, we're just exchanging dollars. It doesn't make any sense. You have to make us a part of the process. And if I'm missing articles in the paper when these things are going to happen, then it's my bad. Let us feel like we're part of it. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think that there's a lot of compromise that can be had here. Don't we already, maybe I'm wrong here again, don't we already pay for garbage through our property taxes? Or was that taken off and I missed that too? I thought we already paid for garbage pickup. So just let us be a part of the process. Put something in the paper. We can put foolishness in the paper. How about this going to be a public meeting and then run it on the airways or the news and let us know? Okay. I guess I'm being told to stop. May I ask one more question? When something breaks down, it costs money to run a city. I understand that. Everybody does. It costs money to run your car. Who's paying for the material, the breakdowns now at the landfill? Say a backhoe or something. Where does that money come from? The general fund? I'm sorry?
From the revenues to the landfill and subsidized by the general fund.
Okay, so that's going to go away, and it's going to have to come out of this $9.75 fee. And things are going to break. You're not going to go for the next 10 years without something breaking. I understand that. I'm concerned about the older people. I really am, and those on a fixed income. But please, let us be a part of the process. That's what we're asking. Don't pass things and then let's tell us after the fact, because then we don't feel like you're there for us.
Thank you.
And thank you all.
Gordon Nyes. Is Gordon Nyes still here?
Good evening. Good evening. I'm here to talk about the sewage, the garbage collection article.
We can't hear you back there.
Okay, sorry. Is that better? Councilor here, Garfield was talking about sliding scale. There is a sliding scale. It's called property taxes. If you own a $100,000 home, you pay so much. $200,000, you pay more. Years ago, the fire hydrant fee was paid by the city. They dumped it onto the Spirit Water Light, and now everybody gets a fixed fee on that. All right? Whether they're fixed income or if they got a lot of money, they pay the same. Now, you've had 2 years for this. I was here 2 years ago. Free garbage collection. Everybody's upset. $20. And that was including a new landfill cell. You had 2 years. Now, the mayor left out the fact that you can ask for an increase from the public if you put on a referendum, correct? You're stuck on a levy. You can't just automatically raise it. But if you go to the people with a referendum and explain it to them like that woman was saying, what their options are, they might go for it. But no, you had 2 years to do a referendum. You could have done that. Now you had the law changed, so you don't have to worry about having to fight with that law that you couldn't raise the fees. You snuck in the fee for the recycling, a little bit of money there. Now you're asking for the garbage recycling. Adding to that, it's $159 a year extra on everybody in the city if you implement it at $975. It was $745, something like that, for property tax in 2014 for the city of Superior. If you add that $159 onto there, that's a 21% increase on a $100,000 home. Now, maybe some of you don't mind spending money wherever it goes. You know, maybe you want to pay and put out $10,000 for a nonprofit when you're not paying the bill. But some people in the city are. And you're not being open with us, and you're not being considerate. Think about it. Thank you.
John Mahan.
My name is John Mahan. I live at 1926 East 2nd Street. I agree with one of the things that Dee said, is that we've been told for years that part of our taxes go to the garbage pickup. And it seems from listening to the councilors talk that there have been meetings that have been going on. You know, the councilors have been meeting amongst themselves, possibly with the mayor, from what I understand. I looked up the Wisconsin Open Meeting Law published by the Department of Justice. I'll just read a brief excerpt from it. The requirements of the open meeting law also extend to a walking quorum. A walking quorum is a series of gatherings amongst separate groups of members of the government body, each less than the quorum size, who agree tacitly or explicitly to act uniformly in sufficient numbers to reach a quorum. The court recognized the danger that a walking quorum may produce a predetermined outcome and thus render the publicly held meeting a mere formality. The essential feature of a walking quorum is the element of agreement among members of a body to act uniformly in sufficient numbers to reach a quorum. You know, from what I'm hearing, you know, people talking, and this is possibly rumor, that there were 6 or 7 members have already agreed to it. You know, you guys have got it, in my opinion, you have a moral responsibility to give the people of the city of Superior, you know, a say in this, and we have had none. Thanks.
To correct you right here, right now. There has not been a walking quorum on this issue or any other issue since I've been mayor and since they've been on the council. We have an incumbent responsibility to brief each and every councilor, and we have, individually or with 2, mostly individually. That is what you're trying to refer to as a walking quorum, sir, and it's a lie. Simple as that. It's a lie. You're imposing what you believe on this body when it doesn't have any fact to it. Thank you so much. You can sit down now.
Marty Curtis.
Marty Curtis, 5301 East First Street, and I hope I don't get as rude a response from the mayor, but you never know. And Dan Olson, I have a question for you. You say it's $1.79 a week. Now, my understanding is we're still paying at least the same amount, if not more, under our taxes. And as I look through this, I see several questions I have. And when I was looking at the little slideshow you had the possibility for 1 can of having a discount and the possibility for 3 cans of having an increase. Doesn't this affect anything in your whole fee thing? It just seems like there's a lot of stuff there that perhaps you can charge per can and charge a lesser amount. The poor people can use less if they can use less, and the people with more need pay more. Everybody else seems to charge that way by the amount of usage. And the biggest question I had is all of this conversation is about the landfill cell. Why on earth did we build the current one we have if it's such a bad investment? I mean, it had to be a horrible investment. What convinced 6 of you to say, oh, let's do this because it'll turn out okay? And one of the things with the billing, you guys talked a little bit about it, we're getting stormwater, we're getting sewage. Is there a possibility of getting these bills monthly now instead of every 3 months? It would be a lot easier on the people with fixed incomes if they could see it every month instead of having to guess. And I just got a short little thing I'm going to read here. Hopefully it doesn't take me over my 3 minutes. The citizens of Superior cannot afford another fee. A lot of our citizens are elderly on a fixed income. They have already seen fee increases in sewage and recycling. How will they make ends meet? Perhaps they can cut down to 1 meal a day. Perhaps they can turn the heat down to 60 in the winter. Maybe they can do without water. No water bill, no sewer. Maybe they can put one of their pets to sleep. That's $10 a month. That's not a big amount. They put one of their pets to sleep, it'll cover it. It's just, these are the type of luxuries you're asking the people on fixed income to give up. They don't have any luxuries. They're barely getting by. $10 a month is a lot. So what I'm going to ask of you is I would like the council to have 2 public hearings on this before they vote on it. I think that's reasonable enough. I have lots of questions. I know I'd be there asking them. And so if you do decide to vote on this ordinance tonight, I ask that you do it with a roll call. And the reason I'm asking for a roll call is I will spend whatever time necessary to recall any councilor that votes in favor of this new fee without having them public meetings. Whoever makes or seconds the motion to pass this ordinance to add yet another fee will be the first on my list of councilors to recall. So that's pretty much what I want to say, but I have a ton of questions, and the biggest one is, why did we spend all this money on the landfill that we have? Why did we make such a bad investment? Most of you were here then. We counted on you to make these good decisions, and we didn't see it here. Made it just in the 3 minutes. Lucky for me. Thanks, guys.
Any other public that wish to address the council? If not, I'm going to ask for the question.
Question, please be reread so that we're clear on what we're voting on.
Are we still voting on the amend? Okay, so it would be Councilor Olson made the motion and Denise McDonald second to amend the disposal fee of $9.75 to $7.75.
And please call the roll.
Okay, it looks like I need to start with Councilor Fennessy.
I'm going to vote no against lowering the fee to $7.75.
Councilor Bender?
No.
Councilor Sweeney?
Could I request that each councilor use their microphone too?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
No.
Councilor Sweeney?
No for the 775.
Councilor McDonald?
Yes for the 775.
Councilor Garfield?
Yes for the 775.
Councilor Finsland?
No.
Councilor Herrick?
No.
Councilor D. Delbick?
No.
Councilor E. Delbick?
Can I vote no on both of them? I'm not voting either way. I'm not voting for either one.
Well, this is the one we
All
have
right,
now.
no.
And Councilor Olson?
Yes.
Motion failed for want of majority.
So the main motion before the body is the original ordinance with the 975 figure.
But has that been moved and seconded?
Yes.
We want to do a roll call? Okay, so this would be for the original recommendation for $9.75 per month for the disposal fee. And we'll start with Counselor Bender.
No.
Counselor Sweeney?
Yes.
Counselor McDonald?
No.
Counselor Garfield?
No.
Counselor Finsland?
Yes.
Counselor Herrick?
No.
Counselor D. Dahlbeck?
Yes.
Counselor E. Dahlbeck?
No.
Counselor Olson?
No.
Counselor Fennessy?
Yes.
Motion failed for want of majority. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So entertained.
Stand adjourned.